health. He is a chartered planner and urban designer, experienced in master planning, urban design, transport projects. Thank you so much, Paul. Worked in UK, China, Hong Kong, and Southeast Asia. He's Associate Director at Lead8, an integrated studio fusing design thinking with architecture. And he's going to talk about happiness and urban design in Hong Kong. Take it away, Ian.
Thank you very much. I think a lot of what I'm going to say is kind of obvious, particularly after your recommendations. So hopefully it just reinforces the need for a lot of those things. I've had an interest since university studying a thesis on urban design and health in my master's in urban design. So I'd like to continue that and try and keep abreast of certain issues of health, particularly happiness in the global circumstances. I think we'll start with the happiest place on earth. I mean, there's a few indices. They all have their problems, but generally this one comes up top. It's Copenhagen or Denmark. Often they see the value in sort of community, collaboration. There's the thriving cooperative sector as well. Trust in each other in government, and the work-life balance, I think, being an important part of the lifestyle there. And of course the cafe and cycling culture that is a driving urban design factor. And then another one that comes up quite a lot in terms of happiness is Costa Rica, maybe a little distant from Hong Kong, but it's more about this pura vida concept of life. It's very simple life, and I think it's quite nice, but perhaps not so appropriate to Hong Kong. There is one a little bit more relative to Hong Kong, and I think we can all identify this city here. Again, they rank highly in terms of Asia's Happy City Index, and is often dedicated towards the fact people feel they have trust in their government. It's inclusive. They try and include people in decision-making and spaces. And also, they're well looked after in terms of facilities and amenities. And there's also this pursuit for more creative uses of spaces and sustainability. And I think those are important factors in terms of urban design. But in reality, Hong Kong already has the happiest place on earth. The happiest place since 1955, actually, but the Hong Kong one isn't that old. I think we all agree that we probably hate the idea of living in something like Disneyland, but there are some lessons to be learned. I guess the only problem is that it's all fenced in as well, so it's only for a select few willing to pay $500 to get in. But from an urban design perspective, I think there are elements we can learn from. I think they actually have some talented urban designers who work for them and know what people like and how to make them happy. And that is not just about cartoon characters, it's about the flexible use of spaces, outdoor dining, green spaces, plentiful benches and places to sit, human scale architecture and design. So, there are some lessons, although it's a bit extreme. So in Hong Kong, just want to talk about what things I've seen in Hong Kong, and I've been here 4 years now, and I think there's a few lessons we can learn. Sense of inclusiveness. It's not just that our spaces kind of prohibit a lot of activities and almost derive their identity by what you can't do than what you can do. It's also that they're often surrounded by walls and barriers, and they're not that inviting, or even trying to find an entrance may be difficult as well, and they might be closed. So definitely you don't feel like you own or are part of that space. So I think welcoming activity is fundamental. And that activity, again, is freedom to express or to sit and enjoy, but also to be active. And as was mentioned, activity being a really important part of well-being and mental health. The fact urban design can really lead to a loss of sense of identity. People may feel they don't belong to a community or a neighborhood because it doesn't look like anywhere and they don't know where they are. So we need to remember the roots that Hong Kong does have these kind of places, and what can we learn from them. We have an amazing transport system, and you mentioned walking to it, but is that journey actually going to make people feel happy if they've got to be funneled through tiny bridges and you've got to go across major infrastructure to get there? But we have a thriving social scene, street life here that we need to learn from, and we can inherit into new developments. I think that sense of ownership is fundamental as well. Just looking here that our roads are designed for cars, for vehicles, and not for the other people who would like to use them. And I think Paul's point about walking with wheels is really pertinent on this this image here. I've seen someone try and push a wheelchair down there. It's not very nice, actually. And you can see there's no cars on it as well. So it's something we do actually. If you go to Cheung Chau and you walk around, people share space. There's cyclists, there's pedestrians, there's people setting up tables and shopping all in the same space. Another thing that I thought was really important with mental health was was the sense of community, and I think that is lost in some parts of Hong Kong, and people find they might feel isolated. And I worked for transition towns in the UK, and I thought a really great thing they did was set up allotments. This one's actually in Tuen Mun, and it really gets people involved, especially elderly people who may feel more isolated. I think, and last really is just a sense of trust. Maybe if we didn't design in a way that we do, maybe people would trust each other a bit better. So actually, urban design is fundamental to that. And as you can see from this great picture, you know, the two very vulnerable road users or street public space users are quite happily walking past each other. So we can trust each other. I'd just like to end by talking about something that we're trying to do, promote within our organization, and we're setting up a non-for-profit association at the moment, where we're looking at how we can connect a lot of these urban waterfront spaces in a project called Harbour Loop. It's kind of building on what the Harbourfront Commission are doing, but maybe delving into the communities a bit more and developing some spaces along the waterfront where people can be active, they can get to work, to and from work by running, walking, cycling, whatever, taking on Singapore's active mobility approach where you can actually choose the way you get to work and be active in your day-to-day life. We identified lots of unused space along the waterfront as well, and turning that into something of a community hub. And we hope to have that set up next year, and would love everyone's support. So I think it's just a good thing to know that if you think good design is expensive, well, I think there's case in point, there's a huge cost of bad design.
Thank you very much, Ian. That was fantastic. And I think that that's really set the context of the opportunities that are there.